Chapter 21. We've got to stop bumping into each other like this. Ruby's down at the river, the place she has returned to day after day this week as May gives way to June. Sometimes people stop look besides her, look out across the water like she does. Some even smile and say hello, but for the most part she has been left alone. The place of my murder is now kind of a chapel, a refuge for the loneliest woman in New York City. That's what she considers herself to be these days, embarrassed at her self-pity, her comfortable self-pity, but comfortable with it too, as if she has finally given herself permission to feel the hurt that propelled her to New York in the first place. Last night, Ash asked if she would send him a photo, something to keep me up, he said in his messages, and she knew exactly what he meant by that. This felt more familiar than her recent "How are you?" and "Guess what I did today" text, but as she held her phone camera at this angle and that, she couldn't shake the performance of it, the way it made her feel like an actor in her own life. "Not tonight," she said eventually, and for the first time ever. Before turning out the lights, as soon as the sun came up again, she took herself back down to the river, as far away from Ash as any place that ever existed. "It's so close to me as she can get." When Tom shows up in the park today, he places his hands next to hers on that metal rail, his voice so close to her ear that it makes her jump. She turns to face him, steadies herself. "Tom, hi." Perhaps in the mess of her life, Ruby's happy to see him again after all. "I was hoping I might find you here." Tom confirms with his broad, confident smile. "I've been thinking about you, Ozzy." "Oh." Ruby flashes at his direction, at the space he immediately takes up, standing so close to her, acting for all the world like he had been invited to do so. "Well, I don't meet a beautiful Aussie woman every day, do I?" he adds with a wink. He's definitely flirting with her this time round, and Ruby is tempted to rally, but she finds herself unable to speak. It feels too light in this place of heaviness to flirt back. There is also Ash to consider, and Josh, the memory of his kiss and his betrayal, still smiling. "Oh, go away," she says to these other men in her life, the ones who crowd her thoughts and don't show up when she needs them. The absence prompts her to say something, anything, to this man who clearly likes her, a man now looking at her so intently. She is about to respond to his overture when a gull squawks above them, and a runner, breathing hard, thuds down on the pathway, almost brushing up against her. "Hey, watch it!" Tom yields towards the man, retreating back, putting his hands on Ruby's arms to pull her close. A whole park, and that idiot has to run right up on us. "Fuck you, fuck you," swearing loudly at the runner. Tom's fingers squeeze around Ruby's forearms, turn white against her skin. It is only a brief pressure before he lets go, but the sensation lingers, even as Tom runs that hand through his hair, shakes his head. Ruby can feel each finger coming down the compression of her flesh. She watches as the runner moves further away, becomes less distinct, taking Tom's sudden display of anger with him. Such a small moment, surely more imagined than real, given how finely attuned to danger she is these days. There is no reason for her heart to start thudding like this. She cannot let her paranoia ruin every moment, every encounter she tries to tell herself, not when Tom is only trying to look out for her, isn't he? Ruby tries to relax. People lose their temper every day. Tom was probably just trying to impress her, play the hero based on what he said about being careful the other day. She has just forgotten what it is for a man to treat her nicely for his part. Tom does not seem to have noticed a shift in her demeanour after he touches her so forcefully. The way she leaned out from his closeness, rubbed her fingers at the spot where his hands landed. Instead, the offending runner off in the distance now. Tom is smiling again. His face turns towards the sun. "Another beautiful day," he says, eyes closed. Such a relief after all that rain. Rain coming down like a sheet. Her breath a ghost. Yellow reeds undulating on the water. Ruby physically shakes these intrusive memories away. "It certainly does change things," she says, turning her own face skyward, so they are standing the same way now, side by side, pulling the sun towards their skin. After a time, Tom puts his hand on her back. I'll admit I was surprised to find you back in this part of the park, Ruby, after I told you what happened to you. She could make a joke. She could tell Tom she came back to this particular spot because that's where they first met. Finally, play the games he seems to be wanting her to play. Ruby decides instead to tell him the truth. I found the body, Tom. I found Alice Lee. What? Tom looked startled, then confused. What do you mean? Sorry, I know it's weird, right? I mean, I'm the jogger who found her body. That's me. Tom's mouth fell open for a second, then a strange look crossed his face. His features seemed to sharpen, and he stares at Ruby, his expression suddenly eager. What did she look like, huh? Ruby blinks as Tom's strange question, the barely concealed hunger of Alice Lee. What did she look like when you found her? Ruby shakes her head at Tom and backs away, moving into the middle of the path, away from the metal rails and the water, and the way he is looking at her. This is not the response she had expected at all. It is too close to his calm overreaction when that runner brushed past them, too far from his ready smile and mindless chatter. She feels suddenly as if she had made a mistake. No matter the width of his smile, she would remember if she wasn't so shocked that she felt this way with him before. This, if nothing else, should give her permission to shut the conversation down. But before she can respond, Tom is reaching for her arm again. Forgive me, Ruby. This is such a clumsy question. What I meant to say is, are you all right? I heard she was in quite the state when you found her. How many times does politeness keep uprooted to the spot? We stand on the brink, making a choice whether to tip over into trust or disgust, and we remember all our training, the lifetime of it, the doctrine of nice, the fear of hurting someone's feelings. In this moment, Ruby wants to back away from Tom's purest interest, wants to ask this pushy man to leave her alone for good, but she doesn't know how. Like so many of us, she has never learned the right words, and so the small, accepts his apology, lets his hand continue to rest on her arms. Come, he says now, have that wine with me. He checks his watch. It's after 11, and I'll say you very much deserve a drink after everything you've been through. When Ruby nods, acquiesces, she feels as if someone is trying to move her head in a different direction. It is an odd sensation. But as she once again sits down across from Tom at the crowded cafe, her companion orders 2 glasses of Pinot Grigio. Trust me, you'll enjoy this drop. The feeling persists, as if her every move is met with a force pushing her the other way. You're being ridiculous. She silently scolds herself. Overcautious, hyper-vigilante, as the PSD doctor from Boston might say. This is what happens when you don't trust anybody, least of all yourself. Sitting here with a perfectly nice man, you think everything is a dire warning, and there's no way to live in the world unless you want to be alone forever. With this thought, Ruby shakes her resistance off visibly, though Tom misses her shiver. She concentrates on things that are tangible, real. The warm metal of the cafe table under her fingers, the smooth plastic of the cup Tom passes to her, the acidic wine she sips, then takes in a gulp. Slowly, purposefully, she comes back to herself. It's good, isn't it? Tom says, tilting his own drink at her, and when she says yes, she almost means it. From here, he makes it easy. Tells her stories, orders more wine anytime her cups get left to empty, compliments her accent and eyes and bravery for coming to New York on her own, and gets up from his chair once she excuses herself to go to the bathroom for a few too many wines in. When she returns to their table, there is another wine waiting for a cheese, when a cheese platter has been set down on the table between them. I'm clearly finding ways to keep you here longer, he says as she sits back down. It is her 4th, maybe 5th drink, and Ruby's limbs are now feeling loose. The tension cord as her neck is gone. She considers this might be the New York she would have come to know earlier, had she not gone for a run that fateful morning, an uncomplicated New York, where she can drink wine on a weekly afternoon, sun basking in the attention of a handsome stranger. This is the New York of romantic comedies and sitcoms on TV. Wonder Woman meets confident guy, puts up her guard, but he wears it down. A single lens on her responsibly free lives, while people in the background go to work and do normal everyday things to keep the city running. Extras making the movie look like real life. Ruby bites down on the plastic edge of her cup, thinking about that lens. She acknowledges, now quite drunk. This is an interesting face You may just now, Tom says. What were you thinking about, if you don't mind me asking? Movies, Ruby admits, too far gone to be self-conscious. How life in New York seems like a movie, or is a movie, and I just don't know it. Interesting. So what kind of movie would this be then? Tom reaches over the table and covers her hands with his comedy, mystery, romance. Ruby stares at her hands over hers, takes in the yellow nicotine stain of his index fingers, and for the first time the pale circle at the base of his ring finger. She pulls her hand away. Tom flexes his fingers towards her, sees what she saw, bringing his opposite thumb and forefinger into the shadow wedding band. He rubs at her skin and sighs. Divorced, he says, not looking at her. Only took my ring off over the winter. I guess these things leave a mark. When he looks up, his blue eyes are wet. But I won't depress you with the script for that particular drama. Ruby is unsure how to respond, allowing herself a brief moment of imagining herself underneath this man, the beckoning of those blue eyes, pulling her in just as quickly. The image morphs into tangled limbs, clumsiest touches, awkward goodbyes, all the leftovers of sex without desire, and she silently berates herself for even considering this an option. The dangers of loneliness, she thinks, offering Tom what she hopes is a stop-sign smile. I'm sorry to hear that, Tom. Breakups are never fun. You experienced your own drama recently. From the sound of it, he responds, finding that murder girl Alice Lee. That must have been terrifying for you. Sorry, he quickly adds. It's clear you don't like talking about it. I've just never sat up to someone who found a dead body in my own neighbourhood too. And to think, he continues, not sounding sorry at all, they might never find out who did it. It's enough to keep you up at night. What people can get away with, especially after what they say he did to her. Ruby thinks of Josh, of his statistics and suppositions, the way she would talk to him all night about the murder and how he was always so respectful about us. And she suddenly resents this man before her, refused to offer Alice Lee up to Tom the way he seems to want her to. She realizes the second job that the wine achieves the compliments. They were just a way to get them back to another man fascinated with dead girls for all the wrong reasons. The realization sobers up instantly. I probably should get going, Ruby says quickly, her discomfort refusing to leave her alone this time. It's getting late and I have to be somewhere. You keep running away on me, Tom says, frowning as she stands up from the table. Can I at least have your number and take you out for a proper meal next time? Ruby does not know how to respond, feeling suddenly that she has been backed into a corner and has been the one foolishly to put herself there. She is trying to come up with a response that won't embarrass either of them when Tom comes to her side of the table. Before she has time to register what is happening, he reaches out, pulls her towards him. She thinks he's offering a farewell hug, but instead his hands goes to her face and her sour white lips push down hard against hers. Sorry, I couldn't resist, Tom says when he pulls away from the kiss. I have been wanting to do that all afternoon. Ruby feels as if she's going to burst into tears. I really have to go, she says, trying to hide the quiver in her voice. Thank you for the wine, Tom. We placate, we soothe, anything to get ourselves out of there. If he senses defeat, Tom smiles, doesn't falter. I'll give you some time to change your mind on that date, Ruby. It is only now that his smile turns to a slight frown, and until then, be careful around here. Like I said to you before, it's not the safest place for a woman on her own. Shake your head at me all you like, but what on earth were you doing in the park that morning when you found the dead girl? She was out here taking her pictures, but you have no excuse when there are 1,000 other places to go for a run. I misjudged the weather, Ruby responds after a time. No other answer possible, and I guess I thought you could never really be alone in New York City. Indeed, Tom's eyes flicked to the other diners at the cafe, and then back to her. Just promise me you'll be more careful from now on. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate your concern. She manages to reply before they finally mercifully part ways. Ruby retreats along the river, knowing without looking back that Tom's eyes stay on her as she goes. She has a fleeting thought, not unlike the one she had the day of her police interview, when she passed a young man at the front desk of her apartment building and felt him watching her, that Tom might know where she lives, might follow her all the way to her room if he could. This makes her so uneasy that she breaks into a run and does not stop until she is streets away from the park. streets away from him. Those tears she's been holding back now spilling over. What was it, she thought, when she first sat down with him today? This is what happens when you don't trust anybody, least of all yourself. Is it possible, she wonders, her chest heaving and her legs shaking, that she has gone the wrong way yet again? It is a thought she decides to follow no further as she turns and heads for home. The night of Ruby's accidental date with Tom, a message comes through from Lenny. Josh finally told me what happened. He's a dumbass. He's not entirely what you think. Text me back, I miss you. Another text comes in from Sue. I've left you a dozen messages, Ruby. Call me back, please. And from Josh, not long after. I know you're mad at me. I would really like the chance to explain things. In the meantime, I found something you might be interested in. He sends her Noah's address, reduces the map of New York to one pulsing dot. It's as if I've been waiting for this all along. When Ruby shows up at Noah's door, he's not entirely surprised. He had been expecting something like this. That someone with a connection to me would eventually seek him out. Still, to meet the woman who found my body is its own shock. He assumed it would be someone from my past. And as he shakes Ruby's hand, invites her in, he resolves to never ask her anything but the barest details about that morning. It is the one thing he won't ever want to know. He offers Ruby tea, coffee, whiskey, and she is tempted to go for the later. Though it is only 9 a.m, Noah sees the gleam in her eye and decides immediately that he likes this Australian woman. Anyone unfazed by the idea, look at this hour is okay by him. Franklin also gives his seal of approval, nosing at Ruby's hand when she sits down, asking for a scratch. He looks for me still, the old mutt, and he finds me sometimes too. But this morning, I remain at a careful distance, anxious for this meeting to go well. For Ruby, yes, but for Noah too, who's just as lonely as she is. My New York big book ends, the man who let me stay with him and the woman who stayed with me. They talked a little about themselves, and then Ruby takes a deep breath, asks the question she has carried around since the morning by the river. What was Alice like, Noah? He stared at Ruby for the longest time, knowing how important his answer will be. When he finally speaks, his voice has an uncharacteristic tremble. Alice was rough around the edges, uneducated, yet the smartest woman I'd known. She absorbed information like a sponge, and then she dripped when she learned all over the floor. She was beautiful, yet far too quick for loveliness. There was nothing lovely about her. She was raw and unfinished, and though it turned out no one had ever really let her be a child, she still believes, like one at times. Being around her was amusing and exasperating, and occasionally illuminating. She was very easy to love. I had never before considered this. He tells Ruby so many stories, all the things he paid attention to. He talks about my mother and my birthdays, about my growing love of photography, how I treasured an old Alicia, who's now certain I stole that camera from that no-good teacher, the man I hadn't told him about, but only just I should have known Noah would comprehend what really went on between Mr. Jackson and me. He says I love the Chrysler building with a passion that I often sounded like an unpolished Joan Didion when I described New York, and that when he first saw me I looked for all the world like the homeless waif I was. He even cries a little when he talks about the last time he saw me. How I was annoying him before bed, clunking around on the piano, restless in a way he should have noticed. More than anything, he wishes he had kept me up late, pushing on to cover my secrets. If I had known. Noah's trails off, and Ruby, Dick, with everything she has been told today, reaches for his hand. When he doesn't pull back, she squeezes his fingers around his. How could anyone know, she says softly. And when she asks him if it would be okay for her to visit again sometime, he says yes. It isn't until much later that afternoon, as Ruby sits on her bed, channel surfing and thinking about everything Noah told her, that something Tom said yesterday comes back to her. She was out here taking her pictures. Ruby sits up, pushes her fingertips together, brings her hands to her mouth. Noah said something about Alicia, didn't he? Amongst all those other things, beautiful stories, she concentrates hard. You know, says Alice loved her old camera and had plans to enroll in photography school so she could keep taking pictures of her beloved New York. Was this common knowledge something already out there in all the articles and forums and news bulletins she had sourced since the murder? Ruby can't recall coming across anything but a camera. Turning off the TV, she opens her laptop, Googles my name for the thousandth time. She finds no mention of a camera or photography or pictures in any of the news stories. Next, Ruby returns to her favourite sleuthing website, scans post after post for discussions around why Alice Lee was not there by herself, why Alice Lee was out there by herself that morning in Riverside Park. Perhaps Tom has been here on these forums too, indulging his fascination with the dead girl from his neighbourhood, and that's where he picked up such a specific piece of information. Clicking through the source of entries, Ruby encounters the unusual theory: prostitution, sleeping rough, online dating gone wrong. But once again, no mention of anything to do with Alice Lee taking pictures in the park. A girl was murdered here. Ruby's heart began to hammer. She tries to pull other sentences to the surface, thinks hard about Tom questioning of her, sees a flash of him snapping when that jogger came too close. It's nothing, it has to be nothing. That kiss nearly clearly unsettled her, and she'd been spending too much time on those damn forums, finding tenuous connections, potential matches. Snap. Where there are none. It's just because she's lonely again, trying to fill up the absence of Death Club any way she can. Still, a thought comes creeping in, persists. What if it's no accident that she and Tom cross paths again this week? If Ruby had gone back to that rocky beach a week ago or a week before that, would she have found this man already there, looking out over the water just as she herself had done that morning? What if Tom had been there well before she came along, and she was simply the one to discover the damage he left behind? What if? What if Tom was always there in that nice spot by the river, waiting to see what happened next? She won't ever think of her foot cracking down on something round and black. The shattering of the plastic lens cap I lost when I was making my way down to the row in the leash tucked under my jacket to protect it from the rain. In the haste, I never noticed when the cap dislodged and fell to the ground. With so much that had happened since that morning, Ruby has long forgotten her prayer to the God of all things, which means she'll never realise I accidentally told her about the camera right from the beginning. No matter, she has a bigger realization waiting for her. She really is almost there. Thank you for listening.